Thanks everyone for joining. Please feel free to introduce yourself using the chat. We would love to know your name, the company you work for, and your role. And we're going to just jump in and get started. So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our What's New webinar today. We're here to showcase some recently released Ironclad features and share how you can incorporate them into your digital contracting process. I'm Erin Kumar, a Digital Success Manager here at Ironclad, and I'll help moderate the webinar today. It's exciting to see so many familiar folks here, and I really look forward to hearing about how you will all incorporate some of these updates to help streamline your contracting process with Ironclad. Today, we're joined by Rashab, Amy, Sophia, and Efren from our product management team. I'll let them introduce themselves now. Rashab, do you want to kick us off?
Hey everyone, I'm Rashab, product manager here at Ironclad. Been with the company almost 2 years now and work on our obligation management and ingest teams. Really excited to talk to you all about some exciting new things we have in the world of smart import.
I'm Amy. I'm also a product manager at Ironclad. I focus on the editor and the editing experience, including features like Smart Merge and Smart Detect, which recently got rebranded to Smart Detect. Excited to share with everyone what we've been working on.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Sophia. I work on our Workflow Designer product and excited to share some exciting new features with Forms.
Cool. And I'll round out the group. My name's Efren. I'm the PM for the usability team. So just making life a little bit easier in Ironclad. A good amount of our work focuses on the dashboard and the workflow page.
Great. Before we get started today, I'm going to cover just a couple of housekeeping items. Please utilize the chat function to connect with folks on the webinar, and please utilize the Q&A function for all of your questions. We'll have Ironclad moderators in the Q&A who will be answering your questions directly, and we'll use those questions for our live Q&A at the end. We are recording the webinar and we'll share it after the session today. It will also be accessible through Ironclad Academy. And you're more than welcome to share this content with any colleagues who weren't able to attend today. So now, jumping into our agenda. During the webinar, we're going to spend time diving into 5 features that were released over the last quarter. Smart import via email, our Word integration, version merge, a number of Workflow Designer updates, and some really exciting usability updates. To close us out, I'll invite the product managers back up and we'll get to do some live Q&A with them. So I'm going to pass it back over to Rashab now to start by reviewing Smart Import via email.
Hey everyone, excited to talk to all of you about smart import via email. So smart import via email is new functionality in Ironclad which will allow your users who have the permission to upload contracts into the repository be able to do that without ever having to log into Ironclad. All they'll have to do is forward an email that they've received or an email with a document that needs to be smart imported into Ironclad. And subsequently, from there, that document will just end up in their repository and be tagged, OCR'd, tagged with key metadata using AI. And the only thing that the user has to ensure is that the email address that they're sending sending the document via is the same email as the one that they use to log into Ironclad. So I'll go ahead and do a quick demo of this. So now that I'm in my Ironclad repository, I can go into company settings to view my company's unique personal email address for our repository. Company admins can share this email with their users or even save it to your contact book as a contact. So what I've done is I've actually just saved this as Ironclad repository. So I'll go ahead and send an email to our repository. Let's go to my desktop and pull up some documents. Go ahead and let them upload. Great. So now that all of these documents are in, I don't really have to include any content in the email, but even if you do, that content just gets ignored and we just pick up any PDFs or docx or doc files in this email and smart import them for you. So I'll go ahead and send this. It takes around 30 seconds for my emails to actually send. So let's jump back into the repository, give it some amount of time before that email gets in. All right, looks like that email got sent. And as you can see, all of these contracts are now in my repository and getting tagged with data via AI as we speak. And it just sent this email and it successfully got sent. I receive an email in my inbox telling me that, hey, all of your contracts were ingested successfully. And I can directly go to the import from this email as well. And as you can see, Ironclad AI is already at work tagging all of these contracts with some key metadata. And so if I refresh once more, should probably see, all right, there's one more contract left to go. Great. All of these contracts have now been tagged with their key metadata that Ironclad AI has extracted, and we are good to go. So that's the new Smart Import via email feature. I'll be happy to pass it back to Aaron.
Thank you so much, Rashab. Next up, I would like to welcome Amy to the stage to tell us more about the Word integration as well as version merge.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm here to talk about Word integration. We've heard your feedback from customers like you that you're most comfortable with using Word when it comes to editing and formatting contracts and documents. So Word integration will be available directly in our editor. You, as a user, would have to make sure you actually close the Word document and save it before you navigate back to Ironclad. When you do that, the document will automatically be saved as a new version into Ironclad, and you can see it directly in our version history page. Without having to download and upload, a new version will be displayed in Ironclad using Word integration. So I'm going to go ahead and start demoing what that looks like for you. I'm going to navigate to our workflow and open up the document directly in the editor. You can see the option is under this download button right next to download, and you will go ahead and click on edit in Word. It will bring up this modal to let you know that if you lose your connection for more than 10 minutes, your changes in Word will be saved directly as a new version, so you don't have to worry about losing your edits. It will then ask you to open up your Microsoft Word. It will directly pop Microsoft Word for you, and you can directly edit anything in this document, just like how you would use Word. So I'm going to go ahead and save my change and close it. So what's happening in the background is Word is making a connection with Ironclad and syncing back to Ironclad. So you can see that there's an in progress modal here. And all the changes would be communicating back to Ironclad. So it can take up to 10 seconds, but you can see that my session has ended and a new version is created in Ironclad. And you can see that I have edited this document via Word. Great, that's it for Word integration. Back to you, Aaron. Awesome. So version merge is a feature that we also recently launched. It's a feature that helps keeping document versions in order. If a new version is created when users are editing Ironclad or uploading documents, this feature will present the option to allow users to merge those versions together so users can save and update, have documents updated without missing anything. What multiple users we've learned from you that who can be editing directly on the same document in a non-sequential way around the same time or not around the same time. So we want to make it easier for users like you to manage multiple versions of the documents to keep your versions always up to date. One thing to note is that Word integration that I just showed is not currently allowed for version merge at this moment in time, but we're working on it. The other thing to note here is also we only support merging the latest version once during the editing session in the editor. This means if you're editing version 5 and version 6 is created, we will notify you about version 6 and ask you if you want to merge it in. After that, if someone were to create a version 7, we will not notify you about that. So that's a limitation we currently have with the feature. So I will also go ahead and start demoing version merge for you. Great, so I'm going to go back to Ironclad and open up a different workflow. So here you can see a new version has been created from the original template. So version 2 is created here. But let's say I'm a user who's still working off of version 1. So I'm going to go ahead and download this document. I'm a user who just downloaded version 1 because I didn't know version 2 existed. And working off of version 1 means I'm working on an outdated document. So without knowing version 2 existed, I'm going to upload this new version. So you can see that a new modal is brought up to let me know that there's a new version that's been created while I was still working on version 1 and I was working on an outdated version. So another user has saved a new version of this document and has some updates that I don't have in my version 1. So what I can do here is I can continue to upload regularly with ignoring all the other edits from version 2, or I can review it and merge those edits together. So now you have the most updated version in Ironclad, and you can see that new version directly in your version history. It will take a few minutes for those merges to consolidate, but you can see that the merge has been uploaded and it has been successfully merged. And you can see that new version directly in your version history page. You can also see that it's successfully merged here with the changes from version 2. And that's all I have. Back to you, Erin.
Thank you, Amy. Up next, we've got Sophia, who will be talking us through some workflow designer updates.
Thanks, Erin. All right, so switching gears a little bit to Workflow Designer, we know there are many admins today on this call, and we know that building that easy requester experience is really important to ensure a really smooth contracting experience with Ironclad. And so this time around, we wanted to highlight some of our recent improvements to Workflow Designer forms in order to help you and your team kind of build a great intake experience. And so let's actually hop into the demo to learn what these features are and how they work. All right, cool. So here I've landed in Workflow Designer and I'm building out the launch form for my consultant agreement. And so the first feature we wanted to highlight was conditional multiple choice options. And so in this contract terms section here, I am collecting information around what business department and team a consultant who's going to be joining my company will fall under. And so you can see this is where conditional multiple choice options will come in really handy. And so depending on what department my consultant is under, we want to showcase only the relevant teams that fall under that department. And so if they are an engineering consultant, we will only show data, security, and AI teams. And likewise for sales, we'll only show enterprise, mid-market, or SMB. And how this works is that once you have added a multiple choice form question to your launch form, you'll see next to every option this little condition icon. And so every condition defaults to always, but if we were to actually click on this little icon, we see that this dropdown appears, allowing you to choose any condition. And so let's go ahead and round out this question and choose our sales department. And so to make sure what we've configured is correct, we can head into Workflow Designer Preview, and we see that because sales was chosen as a department, our sales teams have appeared, and same with engineering. All right. So now the second release we wanted to highlight today was enhancements to our help text. So help text form fields, they allow you to provide sort of additional information like guidelines and links to resources to advise your contract requester. And so now you are not only able to kind of preview static information, you're also able to tag your fields in your help text in order to provide that dynamic feedback to your contract requester, depending on what they have inputted into the launch form. And so here you see is a key summary of the contract terms section from above. And the way you actually configure this is once you go into the description of your help text, you go and type with the left-hand bracket, and you see that you now can choose what field you want to tag here. So here I will go ahead and tag my start date. And note that you can not only tag fields that you have collected via the launch form, you can also tag fields that are calculated by Ironclad. And so here, termination date actually is a formula field that we have configured on the back end. So if we go ahead and click into that, we see that we have calculated termination date by adding start date and contract length. And so this is a really great way for your business users to check and make sure that the information they inputted is correct. And we can once again go back to Workflow Designer Preview to make sure this all looks good. And so right before our submitters hit submit, we can make sure that all the information is correct. So the start date is today. Because the contract period is 6 months, we expect the termination date to be on April 11th of next year, and that this consultant will be working with our engineering department and our data platform team. All right. And so finally, one last thing to highlight today with you all is our review only sections. And so review only sections will actually allow you to hide sections in forms that you don't want your contract requesters to view or edit during workflow launch. And this is really useful if you have certain legal only questions that are only really relevant to legal teams on the approver side and isn't really necessary for your business users to see at launch. And so to configure this, we see that at the top of every section, you are now able to configure whether or not you want that section to appear in both create and review, so both in the launch form and in the edit info form, or just in review. So for the signature policy section here, this really is only relevant for legal to see, and so we've configured it to be a review only section. And so let's now go ahead to a live workflow to see what this will look like. So here I have already pre-populated a consultant agreement, and we see that that signature policy section does not appear in the launch form. So let's go ahead and submit this agreement. And now once we head to the edit info form, we see that the signature policy section now appears. So this will enable you to sort of hide the information that your business users don't need to see in order to make it easier for them to submit a launch form. All right, so that's all of the updates I have. Erin, I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Last but certainly not least, I would like to welcome Efren up to the stage to talk us through some usability updates.
Great, thanks, Aaron. All right, so 3 usability updates. And as I mentioned, really the mission of our team is just to make life a little bit easier for the power users as well as just kind of your casual user who walks up to the product. So 3 things that I'll call out today. The first is the ability to star workflows, which you all probably started seeing yesterday. And then the ability to filter your activity feed. And then finally, some improvements to ad hoc approvers, which should be coming in the coming weeks. Okay, so with that, I will share my screen. And okay, great. So here is your dashboard, and you'll just start to see that you can start to star workflows. And so you're able to do this both from the dashboard as well as from a specific workflow page. And so both of those options are available to you. And all of your starred workflows should be captured in this starred view here so that you can always return to them. The reason why we built this is because oftentimes something like sorting and filtering isn't quite enough, because that kind of implies that there's always a single piece of information or multiple pieces of information that connect things. But sometimes you just care about different workflows that might not have as much in common with each other. And so that is going to be starred. The next thing to call out is some activity feed search, which should be coming soon. And so this is now the ability to start to filter your activity feeds, especially those really long ones, for a variety of use cases. So one common one might be your comments and your emails. So just getting very specific to what's going on there. And then some other things to call out is you can search by all of the times that a particular field was edited. So both the initial submission of that field, which is the launch form, and then any subsequent edit info or form field. You can also filter by the various events that happen in the different states, by users, by parties for those of you using Connect, as well as by the specific roles. And also you can just do just a classic text search, which would search all of your events as well. So some structure as well as just some free text to make it easier for you to find what you're looking for in the activity feed. And then the last thing to call out is some improvements to ad hoc approvers. And so now you're able to name the various roles that you might need. And you can also provide instructions. So please review section 4. And there's some other things here too, where you can now add the same person to multiple. So if you need someone like Baldwin to approve on behalf of 2 different roles, so things like that to just make life a little bit easier and a little more structured as to why you're looping in one approver versus another. All right, with that, I will give it back to Erin.
Hi everyone. So we're about to head into our Q&A, but before we do, I want to take a moment to just review a few of your Ironclad on-demand resources. So first, we have the Ironclad Academy. If you're not familiar with it, this is a centralized hub of all of our on-demand and live resources. We have specific learning pathways and opportunities to earn badges for admins and business users, as well as a variety of weekly live trainings on various topics. So highly recommend checking these out. We also have our Help Center, which is our robust knowledge base of Help Center articles and step-by-step guides to really just help you configure, optimize, and enhance your Ironclad experience. And finally, our community, where you can connect with folks who are truly paving the way in digital contracting. By joining the Ironclad community, you'll have access to forums, resources, support, and a variety of incredible virtual and live events. So really recommend checking out all of these resources if you're not already familiar with them. Fantastic. So we do have quite a bit of time left for Q&A. I'd love to invite the product managers back up onto the stage and we can jump into that. As a note, if we aren't able to get to your question today, we do recommend submitting it to our technical support team. And at the end of this session, we will also share out resources on all of these topics and the recording for additional support. Alrighty, so hello everyone, welcome back. I'm gonna start off, we've got a few questions for Rashab. One, and I'm gonna go based on things that have been kind of upvoted by the folks on the call first. So the first question, Rashab, is what is the email address for Smart Import via emails?
So this email address is actually unique to every company. And so in order to find your company's email address, all you'll have to do is give me 1 second. And yeah, so when you go into company settings, Over here, you'll have the section called repository email, where you can find your company's email address.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Another question for you, Rashab. Are you able to customize the metadata of AI flags during smart imports?
Excellent question. So as of today, what you're able to do as an all or nothing, maybe I should just keep my screen share going. But what you're able to do is when you go into your settings, there's a place called AI clauses, which will let you turn on or off the 175 clauses that Ironclad AI detects. However, the smart import fields, the 19 that Ironclad detects, those are all or nothing at the moment today. This is definitely feedback that we hear, and we will be investing next year in giving you not just tighter control over your data, but also in more upfront control over what AI is going to do when you're importing a document.
Awesome. Alrighty, Rashab, we've got tons of questions for you. So, can associates without an Ironclad license email documents to Smart Import email address for processing by a licensed user?
So, as of today, we do not allow emails to or documents sent via emails that are not associated with an Ironclad user to be ingested into the repository, simply because security is a very important principle for us. And you can imagine if any random person who happens to get access to that email address for your company were able to send documents to your Ironclad repository, that might be quite bad. And so the user has to be associated, or the email has to be associated with a user, and they need to have upload permissions to the repository. One way in which you may be able to simplify this, if you really would like to do it, is set up an additional email as an Ironclad user, which is associated with the user and has upload permissions, and tell your associates to forward their emails to that email address, which can then auto forward those emails to Ironclad. That would be one way to do this.
Okay, thank you. All right, one more question and I'll let you off the hot seat for a moment. If I CC the Ironclad Smart Import email address on a DocuSign envelope, will the document be uploaded to the Ironclad repository?
I am not as familiar with DocuSign envelopes, but if there is an attachment in that email, which is a PDF or a docx or doc file, then yes, it will get smart imported.
Okay.
But the file itself has to be an attachment in the email.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, Amy, I've got a couple of questions for you now. Will the Word integration work via the Salesforce integration to Ironclad workflows and Ironclad docs?
Yeah, right now, unfortunately, Word integration doesn't work with the Salesforce integration at the moment. But if you were to download the document directly from Ironclad, or use the Word edit in Word option directly in Ironclad Editor, then you should be able to still sync the document back to Salesforce.
Okay, great. Thank you. A couple more for you, Amy. Will admins need to manually turn on the integration with Word in the integrations settings, or do they need to reach out to their CSM to get it activated?
So this feature has launched to all customers, so you should be able to see that option in the editor. However, if you're having issue with accessing the feature, then please feel free to reach out to your CSM.
Fantastic. Alrighty. Another question here for you, Amy. If you are working on it and saving changes as you go, will you end up with numerous versions? For example, version 10 and so on.
Yes. So the good thing about using Microsoft Word right now is it will continuously save your changes. You don't really have to click save every time. However, if you click save and close, that's when a new version will get generated in Ironclad. But while you're editing the Word doc, you shouldn't have to keep manually pressing save, it would just automatically save for you.
Okay, great. Thank you. A couple more for you, Amy. Are playbooks available for reference when editing in Word?
Playbooks at the moment is not available in edit in Word option, the Word integration. You will still have to come back to the editor itself to be able to utilize playbooks.
Okay, fantastic. Alrighty, Efren, I've got a couple of questions for you. Fantastic. Are you able to globally rank active workflows?
Oh, globally rank. No. So I guess like the distinction would just be like, is it starred or not, but not necessarily global. Is that what you mean? Or when you say global, do you mean like for other users as well? And that's actually probably worth like calling out. Starring workflows is just for you personally. So it's more about like you flagging what's like important to you. I actually shouldn't even use the word flag because like lawyers will like alarm bells. So it's more about like prioritizing what's important for you. There totally is this like larger problem of how do I like make something higher priority or like star it for someone else. That is not contemplated here. Totally recognize that's like the next problem to be solved.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. If the person who asked this question wants to clarify within the Q&A, definitely feel free to follow up in Q&A, and our moderators will let me know, and we can jump back in for any clarification there. Alrighty, Efren, another question for you. Do approvals reset for an ad hoc approver added to workflows when a new version is created?
They do. So ad hoc approvers reset for everything. Definitely recognize there's like something to be had there as far as like what should trigger it. That is something that we're working on, but as of right now, ad hoc approvers reset like always.
Okay, great, thank you. We've got a few more questions for Rashab, so I'll get to those now. Alrighty, so another question, Rashab, can you bulk verify smart imports?
Excellent question. As of today, you can't bulk verify smart inputs simply because one big reason behind verification is to actually look at the document and then compare that, hey, did the AI say the right thing? And so we are definitely going to be investing in better experiences to speed up verification next year and try to figure out what a bulk verification experience might look like, but not available today.
Okay, thank you so much. I see an upvoted question for Amy. So my organization has been experiencing permissions issues with edit in Word section. Is this common? I was instructed to work through my org's IT support. Is that still correct?
Yes, that's still the correct approach to take. And the reason you are seeing that error is because your IT department has the protected views enabled in Microsoft Word. You will have to consult with them if it's okay to disable the protected views for the functionality to work.
Okay, great. Rashab, back over to you. Does email smart import only add docs to the repository? Can it start a workflow?
It can only add documents to the repository, not start a workflow today. Definitely a very interesting thought, but yeah, only documents.
Awesome, thank you. Can I import, Rashab, this is for you as well. Can I import an email with no document attached into the system for a record of communication?
That's a great question. Not at least with the smart import email for sure. It's a little unclear to me on the workflow side because I do believe we integrate email and workflows pretty well. So every workflow gets a unique email address that you can then use in email communication so that things flow seamlessly between the two. But yeah, not directly to the repository.
Okay, thank you. Amy, a few more questions for you. Will Ironclad support any integrations with Microsoft 365 Office apps, more specifically Power Apps?
We currently don't have any plans at the moment, but I think that's a great idea. Please reach out to your CSM and we can chat about it.
Awesome, thank you. Another one for you, Amy. How do you leave in internal comments in the edit word function?
So there's no way for you to download internal comments when you download to Word. However, there is a hack on the other way around. So if you were to do parenthesis internal in front of your comment in Word, when you upload to Ironclad, it will actually preserve as an internal comment.
Okay, great, thank you. For the edit word, does it integrate every time you save? If you save a few times, does it create a new version every time?
Yep, we talked about this just earlier. So the way it works is Microsoft Word will auto save your changes, so you actually don't have to click save every time. However, the reason Ironclad actually establishes a new version from Word integration is when the user clicks close. So save and close, that close action is actually the action that generates a completely new version in Ironclad. So if you were to click save, you can continue to save. You really don't have to because Microsoft will auto save for you. But that close action is actually when we establish a new version.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Amy, can the word integration be automatically in redline or track changes mode?
Correct. Yes. So when the user actually downloads the Word document from Ironclad, all the red lines and track changes will be preserved, and vice versa. So this functions exactly the same as when you download a document and edit in Word and upload. So think about Word integration as a better workaround for upload and download process. You can skip all of that altogether.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, Amy, one more question for you, and this is about version merge. What happens if you choose not to merge versions?
You can definitely not to merge any version. So during the demo on the mobile, you probably have seen that option that says continue to upload. If you click on that option, it would just upload as a regular version. We won't, force you to merge your version, but we will notify you that your version is actually currently outdated. Because we have heard feedback from customers like you that having outdated version makes it really difficult to manage document versions. So we will notify the user, but it's still up to the user on whether or not they want to merge them.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. Alrighty, I've got a question for Efren. Does the filter of the activity feed affect the view of all workflow viewers or just your view?
Yeah, just your view and like just in that instance. So it's not so much about like preserving that activity feed. It's more about like just quickly finding what you're looking for, but it shouldn't impact any other user. Think of it as like searching in Slack or Inbox.
Okay, great, thank you. Alrighty, we've got a bit of time left, and so if you do have any remaining questions, definitely feel free to drop those in the Q&A. Rashab, I have another one here for you. When you verify a smart import, are you able to adjust those verifications that you accept at a later date?
Great question. So once you verify a smart import, you do lose reference to the other predictions that AI made. However, you can always use edit metadata by taking the record into edit mode and changing the values for those fields.
Okay, fantastic. Alrighty. Looking through. Oh, Rashab, I actually had a question for you. What are some examples of how you can use Smart Import via email?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So we've actually experimented with some pretty cool and interesting use cases for Smart Import via email. One, I think, example was already discussed in this. So what you can do is set up auto forwarding for your DocuSign envelopes as long as that document or your envelope is a PDF in the attachment. If the email gets auto forwarded by a user, those DocuSign packets will get ingested into Ironclad automatically. Another way that we've leveraged the Smart Import via email functionality is to actually connect our in-office printer and scanner to our Ironclad repository. So now if we have any physical document, I basically just added the scanner/printer's email address as a user in the Ironclad repository, scan the document, and use the send email as a scan functionality in the printer to directly go from a physical contract to a record in the repository, all tagged with metadata. So that's one very cool use case that we've seen. So we can pretty confidently now say that no matter where your contracts are, whether physical or digital, you have a way to get them into Ironclad.
Love that. Thank you so much. Amy, a question for you. Why does Ironclad Editor ask me to accept, deny my own changes? Is there a way to assign redline approvals without using playbooks?
Yes. So there is actually a support article on this that actually directs you on how to assign redline to a specific user. So we can definitely share that out after.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, I've got a question for the floor. Is there a way to distinguish between or mark standard Ironclad fields versus custom fields that we have created?
I don't think there is a very nice and product way to do that today. That is definitely helpful feedback. Would love to actually dive into this a little bit more and follow up with whoever asked this question. Would love to understand the use cases here.
Yes, fantastic. For the individual who asked this question, definitely feel free to expand upon it in the Q&A or in the chat. And otherwise, we'll take a look and potentially reach out to get more information from you. Thank you. Anyone else on the floor have any thoughts around this? No? All right, fantastic. Okay, Rashab, I do have one more question for you. When you're verifying a smart import, are you able to adjust those verifications? Oh, nope, I think I already asked that one. Alrighty. Fantastic. All right, everyone. I'm looking through. I think we might be good. We've got a little bit of extra time. If there are any other final questions, please feel free to. Oh,
I'm happy to take a couple. Yeah.
Pardon?
I'm
Rashab, I
happy
have
to take
another
a
one
couple.
for you.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So I see two questions actually. Do
Oh,
you want me? Yeah. So I see
yeah.
one which is when will the contract status update be released? So the contract status and auto renewals feature is going to go live in November for net new customers. So customers that signed forward of September 2023, they've been enabled with the lifecycle preset, and so those customers and any net new customers will have the ability for status and auto renewals to get turned on in November. Later this year, when Data Manager is actually released, that's when existing customers will have the ability to onboard into the status and auto renewals feature as well. So we will have separate enablement and follow-ups around that when existing customers will be able to turn on the feature or do the necessary work to turn on the feature. So I'd watch that space. I see another question, which is when will bulk record type edit be released? So that's actually something that you can do in the product today. So if I share my screen, really quickly, when you go to click edit properties, you can add this add record type row. And so I can go ahead and I decided that all of these imports were actually of the status test type record type. So I can go ahead, click update, and in a few seconds, all of these record types will get updated. I believe there's also a question around not specifying a record type in that email. So as of today, you can't specify record types when importing via emails. However, you can easily adjust that in product, and we'll definitely take that as feedback.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Alrighty, one more question for you, Rashab. I have a limited number of smart imports in my license. Would the email import integration go towards that count?
Yes, any documents that are smart imported via email, they will be taken from the allocation that you have.
Okay, wonderful. Let me just take a quick look. There is one question here. Any plan to roll out more robust email notification settings? Currently, there are the two options. One big one is notification when there is an approval.
Yeah, so I think that person's probably alluding to the default versus more granular notifications is definitely on our long-term roadmap to just, in many ways, just like pick the ones that you want.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Another question here. Are there any plans to attribute updates across all workflows that have the same attribute?
I can speak on this a little bit. By updates, I'd love to hear more clarity as to what sort of updates you're looking for. But soon we will be allowing you to update names and update names globally across workflow configurations in your Ironclad instance.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. If there is any follow-up or clarification on that question, again, please do feel free to send that over to us. Efrain, I have another question for you. Can comments on the activity feed be compiled in a linear format rather than having X responded to Y's comment as a standalone in the activity feed? Can the replies show below the original comment?
Yeah, so I think just improving the like threaded experience of comments is also on the roadmap, and also just like flipping the order if you want, because sometimes it's easier to read from top to bottom.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. I see another question here, Amy, for the updated merge feature, can you merge some of the differences and skip others?
Unfortunately, you won't be able to do that directly at version merge stage, but what you can do is actually accept all the merges and consolidate that after directly in the editor. When you actually when you first upload a new version that has missed changes from other versions, you'll be able to see that modal. So during the demo, we showed that modal. That modal would actually let you know, what are you about to insert for your missed changes from other versions. So you can review it roughly from there, but you won't be able to pick and choose which ones you want to import in.
Okay, thank you so much. Amy, another question for you. When you add internal comments with @mention in Ironclad Editor, is there a way to wait to send notifications to internal users until the doc is saved?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something we definitely are taking a look as well. We're hoping that notifications won't get sent until the document version is finalized and up versioned. But thanks for that feedback. We can take a closer look.
Fantastic. All right. I have another question for the floor. Is there talk about being able to insert ad hoc reviewers in the review process and not just at the end?
Yeah, that's like a long-standing ask, and that is kind of like the next milestone that we want to do for ad hoc approvers. So first was just getting the names more granular, and then like the next project is to help the reordering of that.
Okay, fantastic. All righty. Checking through our questions. Rashab, a question for you. What happens if you never verify a smart import?
That's fine. So when you smart import a contract, it still becomes instantly reportable. You can search for it. You can use the data that's been extracted by Ironclad AI in Insights, etc. So we don't gate any features upon verification. However, as a company that's been working on AI for several years, we understand that AI can sometimes get things wrong. And so that's why we feel that it's important, that it's important for us to keep our users and customers in the loop so that they have a way of verifying and denoting that, hey, I 100% trust what the AI is saying because it is one to one with what is in my document, which is why we offer a verification experience, but it is completely optional.
All right. Thank you very much. Another question. So when you upload a new version of a document into an existing workflow, sometimes the format gets messed up. Why does this happen? How do we avoid it?
This happens for a number of reasons. It could be the document has other embedded items directly in the document that Ironclad as a system isn't aware of or cannot handle. Um, I think the best practices here really is to, make sure your document is clean, and by that I mean making sure your formatting is after it's committed. You don't have any other surprise elements, like i.e. bookmarks and other word features that Ironclad doesn't currently support. So that's the best way to avoid those situations. It's not perfect, but we're continuously making progress on making sure the formatting is reflected one-to-one between Word and Ironclad.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Another question for you, Amy. In Workflow Editor, it seems there are restrictions on editing the format of the template, headers, fonts, etc. Is that on the roadmap?
I think that's actually a better question for Sophia, who's familiar with Workflow Designer.
Yeah, Erin, can you say the question one more time?
Yeah, of course. In Workflow Editor, it seems there are restrictions on editing the format of the template, headers, fonts, etc. Is that on the roadmap?
And there are restrictions to formatting. Yeah, I'd love to understand what types that working with and the sort of formatting options that we can continue to build out. Because I know that there are infinite possibilities of formatting. We love to get to the biggest ones.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Just as a note for our audience, if there are some follow-up questions, you can definitely submit these if you have an aligned CSM directly to them. Otherwise, you can send these to our success team or via our support form. We would love to follow up and ensure that we are getting all of your questions answered and fully understanding kind of what you all are looking for, so we can make sure that we are getting those things answered. All right. Okay, I have another question here. I have several attributes that are multiple choice with 100 plus or 400 plus options across all of our workflows that rarely change, but when they do, it's a pain. I wish that when I updated it, it updated it across all workflows.
Man, we hear you. We hear you on this need. It's 100% on our long-term goals. Yeah, nothing much more to say there.
Wonderful. Thank you. I do want to do a quick time check. We've got a few minutes left. Product managers, are you open for a few more questions? Fantastic. All right, everyone. Let me see. Is there a way to sync the @ tag in edit in Word to the version uploaded back to Ironclad so that it automatically tags an individual without needing to go back in to create a new version? Amy?
Yeah, there's currently no way to do that. And the reason being, your users in Microsoft Word can be very different users to what you have in Ironclad. We currently don't sync those two user models across the two platforms, so you wouldn't be able to do that, unfortunately, at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Another question for you, Amy. When you open a doc via Word integration, track changes are not on even if they were on in Ironclad. Any plans to change this to match what was in Ironclad or just default to on?
I might want to clarify this question a little bit with you, Rachel. Thanks for sending this feedback. My understanding is you're asking if the track changes are automatically on in Word. Can we have it automatically on in Ironclad? If that's the question, we currently cannot sync the default settings in both platforms at the moment. So the Word integration really functions, to my earlier point, a replacement of downloading and uploading. So downloading it to Word for you to edit and saving it and uploading again. So the way I would think about the Word integration is to replace that whole process. But the functionalities really are consistent and didn't change through this integration.
Okay, awesome. All right, everyone. This is going to be our last question, and then I'll be closing us out. It is for Rashab. Can we add our commonly used fields that we want populated in the repository to the AI clauses?
That's an excellent question. And so there are a couple of different key things here. So later in this year, we'll be GAing custom clauses, which will allow you to set up custom clauses, have provide 5 to 10 examples of that language, and have AI tag those automatically. Although I do believe this question is hinting at something else as well, which is, when you import a contract, you typically have beyond just the 194 things that Ironclad detects are things that you want structured with each record. And that's a very manual process today. We definitely hear you on that need, and it is something big, that is a big input into our plans going into next year. But for this year, we don't have anything towards that end.
All right. Okay. Thank you all so much for attending today. And just a huge thank you to our presenters. We really appreciate you all taking this time to walk us through and answer all of these questions. So thank you all so much. While I still have everyone here, we do have an upcoming webinar on October 26th with featured guest Ala Valenti, a senior analyst at Forrester. She'll be discussing the latest trends in CLM and how to turn your contracts into intelligence and risk assets. We'll drop a link in the chat so you can save your spot. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you found this session valuable to go more in depth into Ironclad's newest features. Thank you all. Have a great day.